निपुण भारत, निपुण भारत, निपुण भारत.
Now tell me how the students will learn exponents by themselves. This was posted on WhatsApp. After I read the post, I tried replying him in the way that I could, but I realized that he was not really convinced by the answer. In our WhatsApp group, Mr. Nandakumar sir was also present. Mr. Nandakumar said, "We must have a word with Mr. Amlapure." I agreed with him. We had conference call with him and we spoke with Mr. Amlapure. We tried to tell him that children will learn exponents on their own, but you should have belief in that first. He said, "How would I believe this? If the students have no knowledge of what exponents are, how will they be able to learn on their own?" We said to him, "Trust us this time," for which he went ahead and agreed. Mr. Nandakumar asked him to go to school the next day, tell the students that they have learnt exponents by themselves, and ask them how much time will they take to learn this. Children might say 5 days, 8 days or 10 days. Put up a chart for this. Put up the names of students and in front of that, put how much time will each student take. Do whatever you want to after this timeline is over. But do not teach the students exponents. Next day he went to school. I was in school in district of Akola. I was in the middle of delivering a speech. My phone was on vibrating mode. It was constantly ringing. The missed calls were of Mr. Amlapure. He was trying to call me since 12 p.m. but I was not able to pick up his phone. I thought that he must have some other problem that rose up. I reached home at Washim at around 7:30 in the evening. After reaching, I gave him a call. He was completely boggled. He was surprised. After listening to his impatience, I said, "Stop. Let us take Mr. Nandakumar on conference." On the conference call, we started explaining everything to Mr. Nandakumar. Mr. Amlapure explained that in the morning, when I reached school, he felt that he believed that the students will not learn on their own. It was Ganpati season, and at that time, I do not know the exact number of students, but I guess it was 13 out of 19 students who were present in school that day. What he did was that he made 4 or 5 clever students sit in front of the class. He gave books to the students and explained what are exponents and how to solve them. Use your textbooks and try to learn exponents on your own. I will not be teaching it to you. What is the point that you are trying to learn? He had selected 4 or 5 in the front. He was not working on all 13 of the students. Why did we select only 5? Because he thought the remaining are not so clever. At least the 4 or 5 are. So he selected this 4 or 5 students, started working with these students of 5. While the process was on, the remaining were sitting behind. The remaining students who were not a part of all this activity were also watching what was happening. Even they felt the curiosity about what the other students are doing. In the next 30 to 35 minutes, 3 students had already understood what exponents are. And once they understood, they started sharing it with the remaining students. After this period was over, he left the classroom. After attending periods of other classes, when he returned to his classroom during the break time, he saw that all 13 students were present in the classroom and they were all trying to solve the exponents' sums. And he felt quite surprised. When he asked the students to solve sums, they said they will solve it at home. But right now, they are solving exponents without me having to tell them at all. And he had started calling me immediately after the first 3 had known about exponents. He continued calling me during the day. By 4 o'clock, nearly 11 students out of 13 were already knowing exponents. He was explaining this to us very excitedly. We asked him to write about this experience, and this written experience is put in front of you in the booklet word to word. Please read it in detail. What do we understand when we see all this happening? That children can definitely learn on their own. But teachers like Mr. Amlapure or others have a problem which is explained by him in his written experience. What he felt previously was that my students get scholarships. My students are top rankers. He had mentioned about this many times in the past. Students of other teachers are not on that level that mine are. Because my students top and get scholarships, how can you say that children learn on their own? They get scholarships because I teach them. They top because I teach them. And you are trying to tell me that students learn on their own? Then what is it that I do was the question. We had put up a rebuttal question. How many students have you put up for competitive exams? He replied, 9 students. We asked him how many students had topped. He said 2 had. So the 7 students had failed. Due to whom? That was their problem. If students had learned because you had taught them, all of them would have topped the exam. So students do not learn because you teach. The practice that the children put in or the effort makes the children learn. This means if you help the students to make efforts, then they will learn on their own. The complex that we possess, that the children learn because we teach them, is not correct. Children keep on learning on their own, and the belief that they can do so will clear the path ahead. The first step of the futuristic education is a very important step. Stop teaching and start believing that students can learn on their own. Give the children this confidence. When you give them confidence, the students of your classroom will outperform your expectations. Right now, the biggest drawback is that we are unable to give 100% belief that students can learn. A message that they are lesser or they cannot perform is going out from somewhere in the education system. It is the duty of the teachers to give confidence to the students that they will be able to perform. Once this work is done, the children will be able to do whatever needs to be done and also do more than expected. This is my request to you once more. Let us inspire the children to self-learn. Let us speed up the process of education. Thank you. Thanks a lot.